brain sluice, slick with ectoplasmic juice. Ecstatic energy, a fire that fuels our memory. With genealogy, with spiritual topography. Questions for your answers, we are data necromancers. I'm gonna get you the first robot butler.
Dude, Megan is the queen of getting... Oh, my fucking door is open. I'm gonna go in, there's gonna be flies having coffee.
No!
Yeah, on my own house.
Grab your breakfast, don't forget to eat. She's with child, we have to make sure she eats her food. No. No. Some.
You know what's funny is I wanted to start today with an extremely important, miraculous thing that I witnessed.
And now you can't?
It's the most miraculous thing I've ever witnessed in my life.
Let's hear it then, sister.
You and I were talking about a font name, and I said, ooh, I would love a Bloomin' Onion.
That's right.
And then I think maybe 4 to 5 minutes later, Megan had crafted a fucking Bloomin' Onion. She made it appear out of nowhere.
Pulled it out of my arse.
A Bloomin' Onion.
Aaron and I both descended upon the idea. I made the seasoned flour and the seasoned buttermilk, and he cut the onion up, and I turned on the fryer. And then he started the sauce, and then he was like, this sauce needs something. And I was like, and then the sauce was done, and then bloomin'.
I had a Bloomin' Onion that tasted better. Sorry for your ears. I don't have a limiter on this. Than a Bloomin' Onion from Outback Steakhouse. And that, Megan, is why your partner's bar for me is so fucking high. Because you do magic. You do magic. I've thought about that Bloomin' Onion every day since you made it. Just be like, man, she just made a fucking Bloomin' Onion. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
That's spicyology, my friends. When you know how to control flavors, then you are
you should be
a magician.
Queen of your own planet.
Absolutely. Last night I did it with shrimp etouffee. I had like 5 colossal shrimp in the freezer and a green bell pepper left over from Claire's wedding, if you can believe that.
Whoa. What is it, on its deathbed?
No, it was
surprisingly
surprisingly like juicy and like not even wrinkled. But I had like this weird celery that Aaron had bought for our taco party for no reason that he could explain.
Celery for a taco
I was like,
party.
wait, why did you buy carrots and celery? He's like, I thought that, I don't know. And I was like, wait, I can make shrimp etouffee right now. But that's the magic of having a stocked pantry and knowing how to whip it with flavors. I pride myself on, that's my rubbish. That is my rubbish alchemy right there. That's who I am.
Megan, you are one in probably more than 1 million.
Thank you, babe.
I'm just like,
I feel this way about you.
You make dreams come true.
Ooh.
It's so good. It was so good. Bloomin' Onion is fucking... The secret to the sauce is horseradish.
Yes.
Like, if you've had that yummy fucking Outback sauce, it's tangy.
It's tangy and it's got a little bit of pungency from the heat of the horseradish.
This is like mayonnaise.
I think we did mayonnaise, a little bit of ketchup, because you got to get the creamy fatty, the tangy sweet, which is ketchup, the hot pungent, which is horseradish. He may have put a little bit of mustard in there, but I tasted it and it needed a little bit more zip zing. So I added some hot sauce and a little bit of lemon juice. And then that was it, boy. And you can always add cayenne. Like, anytime something is lacking, add cayenne to it and lemon, and then you're well on your way, brother.
Brother, I need no second baby shower. That was it. No, seriously.
I think that we can improve the frying of it, because the whole onion,
it needed to bloom a little bit.
Yes.
Because if the onion doesn't bloom and it stays kind of closed, it doesn't cook all the way.
Right. And I think there must be a way in which they
Smash
either
it open.
par cook it or remove some segments of it so that it cooks and sort of breads more thoroughly, because I noticed there was big chunks towards the root of the onion that were like uncooked, unbreaded, unpleasant, and that's not what happens in a
I bet you
Outback
knowing
Steakhouse.
how long Outback Steakhouse has been around, it's like some crazy contraption that they smash down.
yeah, just like the
It
pineapple
cuts all the
opener,
right-
you
yes,
know.
it cuts all the right things off and it's wide open, and then you batter and fucking fry it. Dude, we
Yeah.
should stage at a fucking Outback.
Dude, I often
considers
like staging at like a Taco Bell or something where I just want to know the secrets, the recipes, just like any restaurant around town.
I watched a brief little docu-series about the main Taco Bell lab. You know, and they pride themselves, like, to them it's so funny. This is our lab. And they're all wearing scientist coats, and they're all like molecularly dialing in the fucking cow udder and applesauce and newspaper mixture that you're eating. And it doesn't matter because it tastes so fucking good. You know,
it has
and
the amazing power of apples.
but to them, they were priding themselves on how futuristic it was. And you're just like, ew, it's not food. It should be its own category. And there's nothing wrong with that category.
That's a remnant of the Green Revolution, which was the period of time in which chemistry and technology and our knowledge of genetic modification were employed to make more food for our ever-growing world population. So the post-industrial push to make every farm 200% more productive, like, after they figured out how to make more food, they had to figure out how to make food more palatable and like addictive.
And then they throw away 4 football fields of it every month.
Yeah.
On the opposite end, it's like when people talk about running out of food, I'm like, do you know how much food we throw away?
Absolutely.
And this is just America, which isn't even in the top 3. I mean, there are other nations producing more food waste than us.
Yeah, I recently watched the Wasted documentary about food waste.
Is that the one that I sent you about recycling? Or is that a different one?
No,
that's
that was
Broken.
on
That's
Netflix,
Broken.
I think.
Yeah.
And this one I think was from 2014 or 2015 because Anthony Bourdain was the host.
Oh, what's it called? Broken?
Wasted.
And
it talks about all the steps along the way of like food's creation, how it's wasted at the farm, it's wasted when it's processed, it's wasted when it's transported.
Are you watching this? I keep wanting to touch you today. Do you
Touch
need to be
me.
touched?
Yeah, let's get closer. Touch me. I think it was on Hulu.
Is it still there?
Hulu.
Do you know?
Here, let me look it up for you, honey.
Nick says it's a lot of money, but did you know that you too can have a bloomin' onion cutter?
Get off my dick. Are you serious? Are you shitting me?
Yeah, I remember I've worked a lot of catering gigs, and I would cram my Jeep because I was like lead bartender, full of all the weddings excess because I could ethically not leave it there. It's like prime rib and horseradish sauce, and because it was like a next level catering gig, like every fucking morsel they came out with was amazing.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's so
2017.
Oh, fuck yeah. Wasted. The Story of Food Waste by Anthony Bourdain.
I saw it on Hulu as I was going to Bob's, and I was like, I can't not watch this. This is my whole ethos. Like, this is made for me. I need to watch this. Because I think if we just need like a paradigm shift. where food, like, you don't have to find the most beautiful food. Like, you cook like people have always cooked throughout time out of necessity. Like, you make the shit into something good. Like, that's how the best recipes were created.
Well, it doesn't have to be every season all the time. That's like another thing. When you learn about seasonality, or you learn in Japanese culture, they honor, it's like 36 seasons or something.
Damn.
And you see the vitality and the timeline of food, and you taste a strawberry at peak season, or you taste an apple at peak season. In the rest of the year, it's fucking trash.
Yeah, it's like, this is glorious. But it's another facet of our culture, and how it's like, if you want it, you can have it if you can pay for it.
Yeah.
It's like, no matter what it is, if you can pay for it, it's yours. And that's why we have so much waste and garbage and just all this useless shit, because people are like, well, I have all this money. I can have whatever I want. It's like, but do you really want that? You're going to use it for 3 minutes, and then it's going to end up in the landfill. But then there's also this part of me that's like, you can't tell people what they want or what they can't have.
No.
Anybody can have whatever they want if they can get it. And so that's why we have like this really complex system of
there's a car
consumption.
That would be funny if we got absolutely demolished.
We're like, no, we're in here.
We're sitting on the...
I thought he was wearing boat shoes for a second, and I was like, wait, where's Lucas?
Who's that sexy dude walking by?
Hey! An apple a day, you know what they say.
Dude, last night I experienced a hunger I have never experienced after the podcast. I needed guacamole like it was my birthright. And I was like, I could brush my teeth with it. I could eat it like soup. I could
Were you able to make it?
No.
What the fuck?
I went to bed like this.
No. That's why I exist. You should have texted me, I have a guac emergency. Because whenever I have like a guac emergency, it's not even related to growing a person. But I'm like, you can't just go buy guac anywhere that will satisfy.
No.
Because when you buy guac, it's like old, and the like freshness of lime and cilantro is so important to capture.
It's so easy. It's so easy to like make. It's like, why not have those
but like perfectly ripe avocado, like you don't just have those.
That's true.
Around.
Do you notice a big flavor difference? And I've talked to a lot of people about this, but there was only one guy, he didn't speak any English, he worked in the kitchen Central Standard, who knew what I was talking about. But since there was a language barrier, we couldn't discuss it further, and I was really bummed. Sometimes I buy a avocado and it tastes fine. Sometimes I buy an avocado and it tastes like poisonous death. And it's the same way with the H-E-B guacamole. Like, there's either a variety of avocado, or where the avocado's coming from, where I'm like, oh fuck, I got the rubber band one. Like, it tastes like I'm eating a hot pile of rubber bands.
Wild. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that, where there's like a strange astringency?
I wonder if it has to do with like the irradiation of fruit or something like that. Which, like, it destroys all the microbial interference that would cause your food to spoil, but it also like negates a bunch of the nutrients that are in the food inherently.
Yes. I'm always,
it's like, oh, did you want vitamins from this food experience? So you're not getting any because we've treated it with radiation.
I'm so curious as to how much nutrients I'm actually getting with the produce.
Yeah, like you eat a whole piece of fruit and you're like, I got fiber, I got vitamin C.
And then you just have violent diarrhea and you're like, oh, wait.
What happened?
Never mind.
That's the cost of making food available every day of the year all over the place.
You know what? I will say this. This happened once. What's the big blueberry brand? Driscoll's?
Sure.
Driscollus? I've never read it.
Driscollus.
I've never had to talk about it, look at it, write it down. But it's, they came out with limited edition blueberries.
Yeah. Yes.
You know that they have been genetically modified to be perfect. Perfect.
Yes. and they fucking were.
And they're $9.
But I don't have, like, there's nothing inherently wrong with genetic modification of food.
No.
Because that's what we've been doing as we select seed over the last
Have you seen an original
2,000
banana?
years.
They're like crazy looking.
Do they look more like berries? Original banana.
Banana.
Show me the OG. Dang, that's got a lot of seeds.
Yeah, and humans go, fuck that. Get rid of the seeds.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Is that called Gros Michel?
Historic photographs of wild bananas.
It looks more like a ackee, or like, what is that fruit that has the poisonous
Original
seeds?
watermelon too is pretty. I mean, they're all.
But like original corn, it was teosinte.
Yes.
It's like inedible. But so
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna eat out of that?
as we're planting them, the juiciest, fruitiest, like most voluptuous one, we're like, I'm gonna save seeds from that bitch. And that, I mean, it's the same thing when you're genetically modifying plants. But so you make them into these like big titty, juicy, perfect versions of themselves, and then they can't reproduce without your help. It's like mangoes, avocados.
It's like fembots. It's like giant fembots.
Now that we've made them this way, we have
walk.
to. They cannot walk. It's like Barbie's feet. Barbie would never be a real woman because her feet are like this big and her boobs are like this big. But yeah, like anthropological anachronism. They depend on us as much as we depend on them for their survival. And the wild types, they just don't satiate the way that our cultivated
They're for the birds.
ones
the
are.
Birds can eat the seeds and shit them out all over the place.
And they do, and they will. But there's also like that whole Monsanto thing where farmers aren't allowed to save seeds.
That is freaky.
Because
that freaks me out.
It's
The
like,
whole
but for 200
seed
years,
coveting.
my family has been saving seeds, and that's how we create the best food. And Monsanto's like, no, those are our copywritten property. You cannot save seeds. You have to buy seeds from us every year. It's so fucked. But because they're Roundup ready, and you have to buy the Roundup from them too, it's so fucked.
Can we talk about all the legal additives and legal pesticides and how America's a wild, wild west for just pumping us up with whatever? Because we glorify the corporation. We worship the corporation. We suck the gonads off of every corporation, that they're allowed to do whatever they want. But then you see the list of additives that have been banned in other countries, and you're like, oh, that's like the main ingredient in Fruit Loops, which is like BHA or something. That's the same. It's one of the main ingredients in formaldehyde.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's like no studies have been conducted where this food is actually poisonous, but then you like watch it for 50 years and you're like, why are we all so different from the rest of the world? Why are we genetic mutants?
We're angry. We're violent.
We are so violent.
We're rich. Yeah, you know, we've got all the stuff.
But our emphasis has always been on the power of the almighty dollar. The almighty dollar, the free market economy.
Let me give you a glimpse.
My earning power is the first thing you should ask about me.
What's my credit score?
What's my GDI, or what is it called? My gross domestic AG.
Nick says there's a big lawsuit in Canada for a non-Monsanto using farmer saving seeds. And his land got contaminated by Monsanto, and then they sued him for seed saving.
Fuckers.
It's like, God, it's sinister, and it's so obvious to us, right? It's so nefarious. It seems evil, but that's just, well, that's business.
Yes, after our consumerist tendencies are our litigious tendencies, if you can be sued, you will be sued. Like, it is guaranteed. Like, there are so many probably pointless lawsuits tied up in the court system that nothing really important is getting the attention
There
that it
was
needs.
a city in West Texas trying to ban plastic bags, and then the head of the Plastic Bag Association arrived.
What a fucking
And
terrible
they
thing.
blew it out of the water. You know, and it's just like, oh, yucky. How do you sleep at night, those lawyers? I'm like, just let the fucking city do what they want to do. But they're coming in from California or wherever, and they're descending upon upon these poor little people who are just trying to fight the man.
Yeah, and they have no vested interest in the actual outcome of the case, except for they're going to get paid if they win. GDP, gross domestic.
They charge almost 30 cents for a bag. Full Metal Corgi says just charge 10 cents a bag. No one will buy them. I think he's being funny because they charge 30 cents a bag here, and I'm buying them all the time because I'm like, I didn't know I was going to stop here. You know, it's just like,
I keep them in my car, but mine are all chewed up by my cat because she likes to chew plastic.
They're all over the place. They're in the car, but then they blow out. I don't know. It's funny. But let me tell you my descent into darkness, and I am now, last night before I went to bed, and I'm now putting a ban on watching dark things before going to bed.
Aww.
I started a timeline of, it's called like extinction, colonization, extinction or something. And it talks about just like how the Europeans just descended upon the earth and brutally murdered a lot of people for land. And I was like, I can't watch this right now. I know. I can't watch this right now. Why did I choose this? And then the next thing I watched was called Black and Missing. Did you know that over 600,000 kids, I'm going to call them kids, they call them adults, they're 16. They're children.
That's a kid.
But they're black, so they call them adults.
Fuck.
That almost 1 million people went missing in 2019. But they kind of went into, okay, so, then they showed all this violent footage of police pepper spraying a 5-year-old black girl in New York City because she was whatever in a fight in a school. And you're just like, that's a child. You're pepper spraying a child. How all these 16-year-old black girls, they're children, black girls are going missing, and cops, they're not crimes. A missing person's not a crime. It's the opposite of like, back when slaves were runaways, you had to go catch them. Now they label them runaways, and it's not their problem.
Yeah, they once were some white person's property.
And now they're nobody's problem. And now it's just like watching all these mothers. This mom, like, all the friends were like, she went to this house at this time. So the mom goes to that house and says, hey, my daughter was here this time. And he's like, oh yeah, no, it was at like 5. And she's like, no, she was home at 5. And he goes, oh yeah, maybe it was 6. And then like slams the door. And so she calls the cops. She's like, my daughter's been missing for a day. I'm talking to the dude who saw her last. He's giving me this shady story. They never checked it.
Is it like sex trafficking?
I think that it's like, oh man, yeah, I can rape and brutally murder this girl and no one will come looking. The mom will, and it'll be just the mom, and it's not enough. And then I'm like, when they started talking about how are black children ever considered children in the media? No. I was like, turn it off. I was like, it's so awful. This is so, I was just like, just laid in the dark. No. I was like, I can't watch this stuff. Like, I know that it's there.
Yeah.
But it's
so important. It requires everybody's attention, but the people who could actually do something about it aren't paying attention.
Yeah, it's like, so she was like the first female black officer, and she was saying how they spend an hour on missing persons in the police academy.
Jeez. 1 day, 1 hour.
It's just like not even...
It has to be like a grassroots... It has to be people who actually care about the missing person who...
You know what was so funny? I switched to fucking Unsolved Mysteries after, and it was a huge group of white dudes looking for Sasquatch. And I said, welcome to America. There's more people looking for Sasquatch than there. I was just like...
God. The amount of resources and time and energy spent on
this
finding
guy was
Sasquatch.
Wearing an ascot. We believe that Sasquatch lives in Oregon. And you're like...
Why is that a noble pursuit?
I don't think it is. I think Unsolved Mysteries is the only people who will listen. I always picture the cameraman of Unsolved Mysteries being like... Yeah.
Now I just want to spend my life looking for missing children.
Yeah, they were talking about, it was funny, the night before Unsolved Mysteries was talking about the last of the natives in Canada. How there was this, you see a lot of these stories, and I feel like my grandma was part of this too, where suddenly a very minor thing happens, Child Protective Services walk in and they take all the kids. There's no fighting. And there was this big indigenous family in Canada. The mom died and they just came in and took all the babies, dispersed the babies, left the older kids to live in the house by themselves. And they were talking about how the indigenous people felt so intimidated by the court process. And then the court was making them look like these neglectful, evil, dirty minorities, and they just couldn't even handle the disrespect, so they just like didn't know what to do and disappeared. And then it's like, how are you gonna walk into a home full of 7 children and be like, well, I'm taking the young ones by, and you don't get to know anything? They don't tell them. Like when they took my grandma, they said, we're gonna go see Santa, and then that was it. Like
it's ironic because it seems like in that field, Child Protective Services, that it would be in your best interest to like protect the children, instead of,
what a crazy thought,
just like who do they serve and why? Like, you're just breaking up families, you're just like destroying childhoods. But I guess, you know, what's the alternative? Leave the kids with their older siblings? And I don't know.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's changed, but prioritizing keeping the fucking siblings together.
But that's like an ongoing issue between like liberals and conservatives, and it goes back to like abortion laws and stuff. It's like, as long as they're a fetus, then we give a shit. But once they're out of the womb, fuck it. Who cares? As long as they're protected from drag shows, give them a gun and send them on their way.
Understand.
You know?
I think if I could do anything, if I could suicide bomb anywhere, it would be Fox News. It would just be like, what happened to you guys?
Theoretically, like, that's a theoretic statement.
Things were fine, and now you foie gras style feed fear into vulnerable populations to make them your media puppets to just scream?
Well, it seems like a distraction.
It does. It all seems very like...
It seems like, oh, look over here, we're outlawing drag shows, but over here, like...
So when I get really upset, I sing the national anthem, and then I replace the lyrics with whatever I'm upset about. So the other day, when I was on the phone with my private insurance that is MIA, and I paid $400 for it and whatever, and I was singing the Star Spangled Banner, but I was talking about how transgender rights are suddenly, that's the thing to infight about. Wait, what are we talking about? Everyone's dying.
It's so irrelevant.
There's no cops and there's no, you're like, but it's like the inflammatory thing. I was seriously hoping that this was the last thing, though, that people can like get all up and suddenly like laws start happening. It's like,
it's bullshit.
It's like, oh, this makes me mad. This law passed. And then you're like, oh, so you can move at a faster pace.
But only when it's some twisted, self-seeking...
When someone's stepping on your schlong and someone's like digging their toes into it and you like it. It's like they like it.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the movie American Beauty, where the military dad is like so anti-gay, but he's secretly like in the closet and like wants a lover.
Dude,
wants a male lover.
This might be a little graphic, but I was sitting in Galveston, and my dad was a meth addict for a long time, homeless, never had his shit together, MIA as a dad, but then suddenly, like in his late 40s, I think the last part of his brain finally developed and he wanted to go on vacation. And I was like, you want to go on what? With who? With us? And we were on vacation, which was so strange to me. I was like, so do we eat together?
So what do I do with my hands when I see you? Put them in my pockets?
And we were watching the ball drop, and there was a Best Buy commercial. Yeah, and then my balls dropped. There was a Best Buy commercial, and there was like a fucking lesbian couple looking at an iPad for maybe 2 seconds. Sends my dad into a fucking frenzy.
No, what did he say?
Fucking gay, this shit's being shoved down my throat. And I stood up and I was like, what is being shoved down your throat? Where, what, who is...
Romantic love.
Yeah. It's like, it's a TV, there's dudes fucking on Greek pottery. Like, it's been there. It's fucking been there. And now they're on a commercial. And now you're mad. And we start getting into it. And I was like, I did this, and this really pissed him off. I turned to Lucas. I was like, man, you know what? It sounds like my dad really wants a fucking ball gag in his mouth, and he wants to be whipped in fucking leather. I start making all this, like, God, I think my dad needs a dick in his fucking butt. And I, like, went upstairs because, like, to me, that's all that I hear is if my dad ended up being gay or liked dudes, I'd be like, oh, are you going to be less angry now?
You found something that'll make you happy?
Yeah, you're happy?
Can you imagine being happy?
I think I talked to my uncle, and he also noticed just how angry my dad was all the time, but that comes from years and years of meth use. You have completely obliterated.
No fuse. There's no fuse.
And there is no coming back. And it was so weird because, like, my dad was like a drug addict, punk rock, anarchist. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but he ended up being more Republican because it was anti-establishment, where liberals became like big on government.
And with cancel culture, like, liberals,
he felt under attack.
Yeah. It's like when someone tells you to boycott something, you're like, fuck you, I make my own decisions, you know? And, like, the cancel thing is so big into boycotting or, like, canceling people or, like, erasing them from history because of one thing. And I feel like that would be very...
Yes, that's going to set a lot of people off.
But so...
food.
We were talking about food. And we talked about the litigiousness of the United States. And, of course, we were led to trans people being... villainized.
Oh, as a distraction media.
As a distraction from probably the election in 2024 when they're going to machine gun the Congress and turn us all into handmaidens. Yeah.
Dude, I'm ready to Mad Max the future with you. Fuck it. I am so...
The status quo doesn't serve most of us.
Hearing Joe Biden talk makes me want to bury my head so far. I'm like, how
he can't be our champion. He's been in the system for too long. And we don't want a fucking Donald Tarp. That's what I call Donald Trump. Donald Tarp does not serve us either because he's not actually anti-establishment. Some people were led to believe that he would tear it all down and drain the swamp. That's not what he's doing. He wants everybody to suck his dick.
Newsflash, nobody will do that.
Newsflash, you gotta do it yourself.
They're gonna sweet talk.
Not through machine gunning the Congress, please.
Why don't we understand, like, yeah, are we gonna get cited for terrorism? Good.
We don't want to incite violence.
No. I like the idea of, just silently tearing it down from the inside, but I'd have to infiltrate it somehow. I don't even know where you fucking
And once
begin.
you get into the system, you start getting those sweet kickbacks and payoffs, and then you're like, well, this is pretty nice to be on this side of it. And then it all fizzles. Your revolutionary spirit fucking fizzles. You forget about where you came from.
The greed is inherent. Somebody mentioned, I don't remember if it was Magic or not, about coming up with our own new 7 deadly sins. I was kind of thinking more along the lines of, like, yeah, I guess you could modernize 7 deadly sins, right? Because now we're 2023 years later. We're at a different point.
I think most of those sins are still pretty deadly
still apply.
sins. Like, don't kill anyone.
We're still just doing that.
Don't steal.
Doing that up
unless
the
you're a
butt.
corporation.
This is a funny place to be. Like, I kind of start losing my mind, which is why I have a therapist. Like, the other day I was helping Ruby put on this dress up thing. And it's so cheaply made. It's such a piece of shit. And you know that they charge $40 for it at Target. Mm-hmm. And there's strings coming off and it's just like a piece of shit. Like, it's not anything. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, we're just surrounded by that. And there's no option. Because we've done the thing like however many years, 40 years ago, 50, more than that, 60 years ago, you had like nice handmade items that were passed down in your family. And
it's not a good business model to make things that actually last. Because then people don't need to buy your shit anymore. Which is why we filled our planet up with shit.
I just have to try to be like Ram Dass. It's all perfect.
I love it all. It's all amazing.
Perfect. It's all like, don't you see it? Don't you see it?
I do think there's a lot of magic and a lot of ways to still be enchanted, but thinking about the state of things is not really the way to be.
I'm also
enchanted.
I noticed the cyclical like distance from spiritual practice. Shit feels dark. I had a work nightmare last night, like stressful and then things feel dark right now, but hopefully they come back.
It all is. I mean, it's all up and down, back and forth, this and that. You know, you take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back.
Last night I taught a cocktail class, and the guy shows up and he goes, "Did you get my message?" I was like, "Oh no, I didn't get your message. What's going on?" He's like, "Well, half of us don't drink."
Say what? You spent over $100 per person for 8 people?
I was thinking how much money I could have spent less. I was thinking I'm pricing out for 8 people to make drinks, so I went and spent $100 at Specs. 3 people ended up making drinks. Didn't have to spend any of that.
It's bullshit.
But that's kind of sums up. They're all from the Midwest. They're all from they work for some branch of Pfizer, which I kept my mouth shut. Oh, they were making animal drugs. And
Drugs
I was
for
I was like, for cattle, and they're like, yeah, I mean, we make stuff for dogs too, but yeah, it's mostly farm animals. I was like, ew.
Yikes.
I'm sure it's extremely important. I'm sure they would all, you cannot cram that many animals and not have them beefed up on all sorts of not dying juice.
Not dying juice.
Life
extension juice.
Shirley Temples, yeah, we made lemonades. They paid $120 a person for some fucking lemonade. So I made out just fine. But it's like, I like to be a good host. I don't want to just take your money and, oh, okay, cool, we'll just sit here then and stare at each other. I told them, I was like, just use the booze, don't drink it, just make it. I said, this is all for you guys. So they did that. I threw out a lot of alcohol. I wish I had more friends. Be like, dude, free drink.
Everybody come over.
Ding.
Could they have taken it to go or something? And drink it when it was nighttime at home during the weekend?
No. Ann Farm said, was this a work event? It was a work event, but the guy that wasn't drinking was the one who set it up.
Well, he knows how to have fun, but he wasn't ready to have fun that day.
I think the people weren't drinking because they were on work duty, so I didn't think I was in the presence of maybe recovering addicts.
Teetotalers?
Yeah. Like I said, I was telling Megan, I was like, I'll do a mocktail class. That'd be fun. it's going to be $40 a person. It's not going to be 120.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Have you tried that seed lip stuff?
I haven't, but that's probably what I would get, you know.
I feel like you could make your own non-alcoholic alcohol.
I did that at Otoko, but it's just teas and syrups, you know. It's all just very sugary.
Oh. It seems like you could do more botanicals and do like a non-alcoholic gin
But
kind
like
of thing.
with water?
Some other potent non-alcoholic thing. I don't know. But that thing they made for Ruby at Water Trade, I thought that was pretty delicious. I think they used that seed lip stuff.
Yeah, there's also just a lot of cocktails. You take the booze out and it's just lemonade at that point. Mm-hmm. It's still really good.
Make me thirsty.
It's so funny. We see this owning a cooking school. You see this all the time. So we signed up for your tuna class, but we're allergic to tuna. Is there? I mean, can you accommodate us? I really
like
want to be accommodated. And you're
pad thai class, we're allergic to fish or peanuts.
You're like, oh look, we've got steak, pizza, paella, sushi, pasta, vegan ramen. We offer so many classes, and they're like, well, I want this one. What are you gonna do about it? It's almost like there's like some sort of ethereal demon spirit anime style that comes in, and
it's interesting. Like people go to restaurants and do that type of thing, and it's usually people who have like an intolerance as opposed to like a strict allergy. Like, I don't want my tummy to hurt, so can you change the entire menu?
My tum-tum hurts.
Which
tum-tum hurts.
You know, if you give me enough time, I can make it happen, and I will with joy. But
it's funny.
If you tell me that at the moment the class begins, there's nothing I can do for you, bub.
There is, my cousin Alex, she's a chemist for New Belgium. She went through a traumatic event and ended up getting severe celiac disease. And now luckily she works in a lab, so she's not like in contact with the beer a lot. But she doesn't make any restaurant do anything. She knows where she can eat. And to her it's life or death.
Yes.
We aren't going to that restaurant because they're not going to, there's no asking accommodation. Will you rub my butt? Can you lick my butt like a mama cat and I'm your baby kitten? Can you just please just, I need a mommy.
But that's the thing about celiac is like, there's no way that a kitchen that's not specifically celiac can prepare for you, because flour floats around in the air. Like, it's particulates. It's like vapor almost. And there's no way that it's going to be safe for me to even just use a different cutting board. Like, you're going to get in contact with this stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. But as far as like,
I can't really do raw onion.
I can't really. I try. I try to avoid it.
I just do my best.
It's like, okay, your best isn't working, sweetheart.
Nick asks, what's New Belgium making in a lab? Dude, they have a crazy lab. Obviously, I've visited my cousin in North Carolina. It's a massive lab. It's just like quality control. She works at the plant where they make all the beers, so she's like one of the scientists that like pairs snacks and does all the taste quality control. People come in, you go sit in this like big room, there's no signage or anything, and then like this small opening slides open, gives you a little beer, closes the door. Like, there's no infiltration bias.
There's like a monitor on your finger. It's like monitoring your heart rate and shit.
And then you sip it, and then you fill out all the information and send them the card, and they give you a new beer. And yeah.
So I saw someone asked for a bourbon-based cocktail that wasn't too sweet. If you're making your cocktails right, they're not too sweet. You know what I mean?
Right, and I wanted to open up a bar called Not Too Sweet because it was I think cocktails, you go to like Myrtle Beach and your
Everything's syrup.
your cum guzzling fucking guava nectar, like, and you're like, okay, this was $28, but I don't feel buzzed. It doesn't taste, and they're like, yeah, no.
The next day you wake up with the worst headache of your life.
So what I like to do for a bourbon cocktail, if you like neat, so make a Manhattan, get a really nice sweet vermouth. So 2-to-1, 2 parts whiskey, 1 part sweet vermouth, and then I like to add a half an ounce of Cynar, which is a artichoke amaro, but it's like rich and bitter, and it has just enough sweetness to be palatable.
How much Cynar?
Half an ounce.
In a Manhattan. That's so cool.
Yeah, it just makes the Manhattan like gives it a little bit more body. I add a little bit of Cynar to like citrus drinks, stirred drinks, any kind of drink.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because you think about it, when you taste something, like drink something, eat something, you want it to be salty, sweet, bitter, and sour all at once.
Yeah, and it's like the cocktail that I was known for that got published was a fat washed with sesame oil whiskey.
Goma
fashioned. So it was fat washed sesame oil whiskey with Gaffard vanilla, which is like a French liqueur. And then I pre-diluted it. I had a certain ratio of bitters in there and then a certain amount of simple syrup, and I kept it in the freezer. It was a fucking nutty, perfectly balanced, pre-diluted, ice-cold fucking old-fashioned.
I would pay you $50 for a bottle of that batch cocktail.
I sold that during the pandemic, and I made a lot of money. I did a motorcycle delivery service of bottled cocktails, and that lined my pockets as a postpartum mother for a little bit, and I'd ride all over Austin dropping off bottles of...
Maybe you should do that once a month. I think that would be cool.
I was thinking that it's not super cost effective because I have to pay for all the bottles, but people were keeping their bottles, and then they'd give me their empty bottles, and then I would fill them up. So if you bought the bottle, like maybe if I hate to put the cost on the consumer, but it's like...
Makes sense,
then I don't have to charge you. I could charge you less if you kept the bottle. I still have me and Ricky did that. Ricky did his own whole batch. I did my own, and then because it was also the pandemic, so people couldn't go out drinking. They're like, I want to get my wife a nice birthday present. So I'd make custom drinks for people and drop off a gigantic fucking gallon of illegal booze and be like, there you go. But I'm like, you have to drink this within 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. Don't leave this shit open. It's going to go bad. And I hate giving it to you.
Don't leave it on your bar either.
Don't leave it on your bar either.
Can you imagine?
Full Metal Corgi says, from bartending in Naples, Florida, I can say that there's so much stuff was basically pure sugar. Could I use growlers? Yeah, and the growlers...
Is that like something that is closed with vacuum sealing?
It's just like a big glass jug.
But wouldn't it usually hold in carbonation, like of beer?
Oh.
It seems like it would be sealed hermetically or some kind of way that a cocktail wouldn't necessarily need unless you added champagne to it or something.
There's 2 people in Austin who have speakeasies in their houses, and they're running it illegal. So it's like a true speakeasy. It's illegal. You come into their house, you're allotted a certain amount of time. And I was like, is this what people want? Because I'll fucking set shit up. I mean, you want to come over,
dude.
And I'll kick you out.
Pandemic prohibition.
That would be kind of fun.
I'm just thinking about drinking cocktails now. They taste so good. Like, you are so... I cannot stress this enough. I have never tasted anything that is on the same level as what you can create with liquids. I don't get it. I don't understand how you are so well versed in all the different flavors. Dude, it's true. I'm just thinking about all the things. Like, I went to visit her when she was still working at the bar, when you had little Ruby Baby Bump, and you were like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know. Something citrusy, juicy. And then she made me this red thing, and she like clipped this tiny little flower to the glass, and it was in this little tulip glass, and it like struck my heart visually first, and then I tasted it, and I was like, I couldn't even tell you what's in this. And I consider myself not a super taster, but I understand the flavors of things. But it was so beautifully made and melded and thoughtful. I just died from it.
Dude,
I'm a ghost.
It's a ghost.
And so now it's finally out. Cat's out of the bag. I'm dead.
I had a mezcal strawberry balsamic truffle oil cocktail that I had to charge. Yoshi would get so pissed at me. He's like, you're ordering this fucking bottle of strawberry balsamic truffle. And I was like, Yoshi, it's so good. But it's like a long, skinny bottle. It's $80.
Strawberry balsamic
I would
truffle.
try to like stretch it out as much as I could. I had to charge like $20 a drink for it. But this guy came in and he got emotional when he drank it. And
That's what I'm saying.
And I was like, what's going on? He's like, this drink is bringing up memories I didn't know I had.
That's incredible. Like he's a Cylon, or he's an android, and he's like accessing memory database. We should go to Con Olio and just taste all of their balsamic vinegars.
Yes, if you get a really good oil, a really good olive oil, you can make a really good drink with it. Yeah, and I was always just, I worked on a Stanley Kubrick set that had no one in it. So I was just up there getting paid absurd amounts of money to fuck around.
Smelling our own farts.
I just stood there, yeah, eating sushi, and like, it was criminal how much I was making up there. But people would feel really special because I'm like, don't look at the menu, what do you want? There's no one in here. I can craft you something.
That is a unique talent that I have never witnessed in another person. Period. Full stop.
I was shipping the cocktails too for a while. I found out, oh God, like I sent a bottle to my mother-in-law. And I think a year and a half
when she was still
later,
in Minnesota?
No, she lives in Maryland.
Oh, mother-in-law. I was thinking stepmother, sorry.
She sent me a picture of it, and I was like, I made that for you like a year and a half ago, and she didn't keep it in the fridge.
Oh, no.
And she was just drinking it and said it was the best thing she's ever had. And I was like, well, I can't believe that you're not shitting yourself right now.
I wonder if it took on any like new fermentation.
It had to have. There was
She's like,
so much
it's fizzy.
fresh
Like,
juice in it, and like,
hope it doesn't have botulism, Pamela.
Yeah, I do it with disdain because I didn't get into bartending because I liked it. I got into bartending because it was the most amount of money I could make for the
She's
least
a reluctant
amount of
hero.
effort. The reluctant.
She's like, this is my power, this is my curse.
Do you
or
know
this
how
is my
much
gift,
you
this is my
make as a
curse.
bartender? I'm always so confused when people are like, I'm broke. And I'm like, you could bartend. But then again, not everybody likes to sit and talk to strangers and like can deal with the stressors of restaurant life where people are always needing their butts wiped and their tits licked, and
people forget everything about having manners.
Yes.
Or like treating people
with
equally.
respect.
When we were talking about rewriting the 7 deadly sins, I was thinking like, you just need one rule. It's the golden rule. You treat other people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And that, just think about that in everything you do.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. Like, that's all you need. Unless you like to be beat up and you like to be abused and you like to be ignored, then that doesn't work. But yeah, people forget how to act right when they go out to eat.
Yeah, tourist bars. So in Baltimore, there was a part of Baltimore, if you bartended in Fells Point, you were making 6 figures. But to get a job,
Untaxed though, because it's like cash flow. Keep that shit on the low.
but to get a job was, you had to wait in line.
Yeah.
They never had a fucking issue with filling spots.
Where was that?
Fells Point in Baltimore, just like kind of right on the water.
Does it seem like where you can make the most money as a bartender or like a career server or whatever, like the rent is also astronomically high?
Baltimore rent was cheap as fuck.
Yeah, I was thinking like a New York bartender probably cleans up, but then they got to turn around and pay
$3,000,
$5,000 to live in a closet or whatever y'all doing up there. Shout out Brittany.
Shout out Brittany. I love visiting New York, and then I love leaving New York. I don't know how you can just like be fine with not seeing the sky or trees. I mean, I guess there's Central Park, but that's like, you have to go there.
She said she's really loving it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she said it was a completely like new.
It sounded like what she
like turning over a new leaf.
She grew up in like middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah.
You and I have been on the East Coast, and this is foreign to us. Being peaceful,
all the flowers everywhere, all the space, all the sky,
all the places to go swim in. We're like, this is what's up.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm finding out new cool things that I like about living in Texas, which I never thought. Like, I'm from Virginia, and I don't know, I just never really thought about what my future would be like. I thought I was gonna marry my high school sweetheart.
Really?
Yes, I like designed our wedding, and like I designed my cake. It was gonna be a Mendy cake with like,
what's a Mendy cake?
You know, like the henna stuff that Indian women will get on their wedding day. I wanted that on my cake. So like a white cake with like chocolate, beautiful lacy whatever on it. And I was like, I want a buffet. I want this. I want that. I like designed my flowers and stuff and my dress. But then the rug was pulled out from under me, and I became radically aware that I knew nothing about myself or the world or what I actually wanted.
That
was in 2008. My brother went to prison.
Oh, so you kind of just got like head stomped by...
Yeah, my brother went to prison. My mom lost her job, and she lost our home, and I got really sick.
All at once.
Ugh. And my dog died. And I just couldn't go back to how I felt before all that stuff happened. Yeah. I became somewhat self-destructive and very exploratory of different worlds and different things. And it led me here.
Important.
Here I am.
Welcome.
It's Dorp.
It was important to know that you got just fucking kicked in the back in a certain direction. Megan wasn't going to settle down. No.
She definitely wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Most people do, right? It's like you want to...
Well, it was like, because growing up, I didn't have like that two-parent partnership,
dyad,
familial, like, oh, we laugh and sit down and eat dinner together, and I didn't see that. And then when I would go over to my boyfriend's house, his family, like his Mima lived in the little garage apartment, mother-in-law suite, and she's Japanese, and it was like she would bring over like rice, and like they would all share and talk about their days, and they were like involved in each other's lives. And I was like, I want this. Yeah. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And I want it with David. Like, because we were like super intellectually similar, and we would like study together, and he encouraged me to like be in like after school groups and stuff.
He was pushing you.
Yeah. He was like, because my parents weren't like saying like, you should be in AP classes. You should be doing this. You should prepare for college. But David was like, Megan, you should definitely be in AP French and AP History and AP Government and AP Calculus. And I was like, AP Calculus? But I gotta fucking be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he saw the, like, vast potential of my brain.
You're surrounded by people who understand your vast potential.
Yeah, and he was the only reason I wanted to go to college. Because he's a year older than me, and he went, and I was like, I don't want to be without him. And... so I'm really grateful for that experience, because he was the positive example that prevented me from becoming a pregnant manager of McDonald's crack
Maxx.
whore in a ditch, which was so close.
God damn it. I can feel her living in a different dimension right now.
Poor dear. I just want to hold her. I think he's like somewhere out west, like still studying science, probably trying to cure cancer. He always said he was going to cure cancer. But I hope he knows that he's awesome, and I'm grateful that he exists, and that I learned so much from him and his existence.
There's something about, like, you could have the hottest man walk in, and if we're not intellectually the same,
Yeah, you get a big
I'd
dick.
I'd dry up like the fucking Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
I think that's so... I'm thinking about this because, like, everybody's talking about polyamory. I'm like, No, I haven't met anybody who's I'm intellectually plugged into. Lucas is the only one I've met. And I wasn't going to get married. I was the opposite. I was ready to move to Tibet because I hated my family and I wanted to be a monk, and I didn't want to touch or look at anybody ever again. That was like the end for me.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, based on your experiences, of course, you want to just like shun everybody and everything.
Goodbye. I kind of want that now a little bit. Like, I was thinking about like the Costa Rica life, like of the people who live out in the country in just a shack, and your day is spent getting the thing that you need.
Yeah, you just make food.
That's
eat
it.
Food.
And then talk to your people.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that once a year.
Yeah. I want a guru. I'm kind of over. Oh my gosh, I still have your fucking mini diorama of Megan made a mini scale version of my kitchen.
Out of garbage.
Out of garbage.
That was such a fun, creative burst. Because that was during Pandy.
That was during
I
pandemic.
was unemployed. I was being paid by the government to fuck off.
And we were... our first series was... Sorry. You know what? I edit this shit and I'm like, man, I am so fractured. I can't stay on one thing. But hey, I was diagnosed with ADHD
It's
when I
because
was
of
like
TV.
17.
Blame TV. TV.
Just follow us, okay? Just follow us.
They're with us.
Your apocalyptic kitchen cooking show is something that I know that you had to like...
I had to shelve it.
You shelve it because you get overwhelmed, and I really want you to untie that knot because I am like here and ready to do apocalyptic kitchen.
I know, and it's still inside of me. I still have it swimming around inside of me, but I need a production team. I need like somebody who can help rein in my wild dreams, you know?
Yeah.
And I know it's possible. I know we can do it.
Well, okay, what do you need? We've got a few minutes. I know you got to go.
What do I mean, or what do I need?
What do you need on your production team?
I need someone to help me write the episode and like write the recipe. And I also want puppets. And each episode is a different apocalyptic scenario. And people are going to think that I'm trying to copy Last of Us, but I made this up like 7 years ago.
Yeah, you have a blog post, right? Or didn't you link me to something where it was
it's like a Google Doc that I started writing a long time ago, because there is no, like, cooking out of necessity is kind of my jam as Rubbish, but there's no necessity like the end of the world, you know, and having to make do with whatever is laying around. So there's like I don't know, what else would I need? I need to do R&D on the recipes. I don't know, it's almost like
this is everything I can help you with.
Absolutely, but we have so many other things going on. My brain goes in so many directions. I need like 2 months, no work, no anything else to fuck with me, where I can just like focus on this one thing and live inside of it. Because if I have to do this day, and I'm also checking emails, I can't. It's not going to come out.
You have to accept that that's the reality you live in.
But people who write books, they get a fucking grant to go sit in a house for 2 months and write a book. That's what I need to make Apocalyptic Kitchen a reality.
Well, okay.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, let's talk about it. There might be a grant out there that could help you. I know grants tend to be more educational, but maybe.
Oh yeah, I haven't lost faith that it will happen one day.
If there isn't a grant, let's learn how to navigate reality together. We can write the episode, and we can take 2 months, and we can take however long we want, and we can make the puppets. We can film it. You need to have the vision, and you need to do it no matter what. But our parents didn't tell us, like, hey, if this
I got the vision, the do it no matter what, I don't got. I'm always, every time there's a deadline that I have created for myself, I'm like, it's okay, sweetie. You can go back to bed. You don't have to actually do it. No one's checking on you. You don't have to be accountable to anybody but yourself, and yourself doesn't care.
Right, there's the discipline muscle. We just gotta start flexing more.
My discipline muscle is weak, and I'm talking about it in therapy, trying to realize that being accountable to myself, I'm definitely like worthy of, following through on my own plans.
Look at how fucked my footage got. That's okay.
Where is it?
On
the top?
No, on the side. We're burnt. That's fine.
Oh, it's quite bright, you mean?
Yeah.
What was our song we made for the last Rubbish? ISO, turn your ISO up, turn your ISO up.
Because I've kicked off stuff off my plate because I need my energy for my own shit.
Yeah.
So I'm down to help. And we can do it.
I trust you.
We can do it.
I know we can do it. It's just so big.
Yeah, well, it's good that you're working through it in therapy. Maybe it seems, to me, I hear it's in your head, it's way more intimidating than it actually is, right? Which is where we live. We live in our head, so it's hard. But to me, I'm like, all of this is possible. And
Apocalyptic Kitchen is going to knock everybody's dicks off.
Just like going back, because we first started filming. I was filming for the first time with Apocalyptic Kitchen. What episode is it?
It was the zombie apocalypse one.
Okay, I'm going to link it down below. It's a fun episode.
Did we make the full episode of that?
Did you publish it? With the hand? That hand just saw its demise. Like, I think it got left outside, but it had lasted up until like a week ago.
Loved making that hand. I made it out of a dish glove and like little shards of plastic from a basket I got from Dollar Tree. I was totally immersed in that process, and that's why it all came out. I can't focus on many things at once.
No, but if we set aside, hey, let's write this episode. So you and I sit down and write out a script. And then from that script, we know what we have to make. So then the next process is making this stuff. And then the next week, we're like making puppets and stuff.
So yeah, to go back, that little model that I made of your kitchen, I was going to rain down all of these cheese puffs into it, like in a shot. And then I was going to fill your real life kitchen with like balloons. And then pretend like I was in and amongst all of the cheese puffs on the moon, and I was gonna make my own cheese. it was gonna be glorious. But I made the model, and then I never followed through on actually making the episode.
Yeah, I keep thinking, I wonder if Austin Public Access has any grants or anything.
I was thinking about that, being in there with Tyler and Nikki and Sam.
No, I want to know if they have a grant to give you that we could use to film,
That'd be so dope.
Ant Farm Pro says, write an episode and get all the bones of it together. Paper, then pitch the idea to the people that could pay for it. That's true. We could do a GoFundMe. I don't think we would need that much.
Nah. I don't know. But I'm thinking about my next Rubbishcook episode already.
Sorry.
No. I love all the dreams. I want all the dreams. But for Rubbish, I want to do the thing Brittany and I were talking about. She wants like a romantic dinner for one.
Romantic dinner for one, guys.
And,
that is coming up next.
I want to, so I'm into making like formats for people to plug different ingredients into based on what they have. That's the Rubbish approach. It's like teaching you how to cook, as opposed to like, here's a fucking recipe where if you don't have 1.5 teaspoons of cardamom, then you're fucked and you can't make the recipe. I'm not interested in that, which is why I've always been resistant to like sharing recipes. It's like, it's not about the recipe, it's about the process. It's about learning to trust your own sense of...
That's what my cocktail classes are about. It's not about the fucking cocktail recipe. You can pick whatever you fucking want to put in this. It's about the process.
Yeah, it's learning what to look for. Mm-hmm. Like, you need texture, you need mouthfeel, you need flavor, whatever. So I'm working on like a really simple, easy to execute, I should say, romantic dinner for one. And I'd love it if you could make a cocktail.
I'd love to make a cocktail
for it. So that's what I want to schedule next, because I think that would be a dream. Like that fish packet I made the other day is going to be something like that. Because when I think about, oh, what's my romantic dinner for one, I don't want to fucking make a big mess.
No.
I want to like
the least amount
ball
of
up the parchment and throw it away and then go lay down with the rest of my drink or with my dessert, you know? Like,
dude, I saw a little dessert in the fridge yesterday and I thought about eating it. I think it was a budino.
You should have eaten it. Was it a chocolate mousse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that sitting there?
You should have eaten it.
It
was left over from his steak class. There were 2. I ate one of them. I was like, is there coffee in this? So good. Because
I knew, I was like, Aaron's gone all week.
Yeah, you should have eaten that. There's cupcakes in there too.
Shut the fuck up.
Those are miso chocolate cupcakes.
Miso chocolate cupcakes. Dude, I just want you guys to know that Let's Eat Austin, which is the business we own, the headquarters is a fucking dream.
And you should come there.
And you should.
We have a party on April 15th.
We do.
We are making custom ice creams. We're making taco bar. Whitney's just gonna make some fucking dream shit that you've not even heard of.
I watched Megan go, Aaron, I can't stop thinking about like goat cheese and cherry ice cream, but I don't think anybody's gonna like that. And then Aaron goes, Megan, can we just make whatever we want? That's the jam. The jam is we just make whatever we want and people show up and eat it.
And they fucking love it.
Fucking love it every time.
Every fucking time.
Full Metal says, teach us how to cook squirrel.
Squirrel. So what you want to do, you're going to want to brace it because it is a very tough little meat. It's running around all the time. There's a Virginian recipe for Brunswick stew.
Squirrels.
It's called Brunswick stew. And you can use chicken, you can use pork, you can use squirrel, you can use roadkill. But it's sort of like a barbecue sauce based broth. It's so delicious and flavorful, but you put like potatoes and corn and lima beans in it if you've got it. It's so yummy. I love Brunswick stew, and that's how I would cook squirrel.
I'd eat squirrel, especially in Brunswick stew.
Yeah. It's probably very gamey though, and usually when you're cooking game, you want something really bossy like juniper or like cloves, like crazy medieval shit when you're cooking game. So, I don't know. It seems like you might get a tapeworm or something if you cook squirrel from your backyard. I'm not sure how that works, so we'll have to revisit the squirrel topic.
Nick says Bobish did a great job of making Brunswick stew with bear and rabbit.
Oh,
you ever
yum.
Had bear?
I had bear dumplings at the Russian house, which I think they changed the name of the restaurant when the war between Russia and Ukraine kicked off. I think it's on 5th Street or 4th Street. I couldn't tell I was eating bear. They gave us like this crazy flight of dumplings with all these crazy meats.
It says squirrel tastes like a subtler version of rabbit, with some saying that the flavor resembles a cross between rabbit and chicken with a hint of nuts.
It sounds delicious. Rabbit is really good. Rabbit is way too expensive at the store though. But I think if I was raising animals in an end of time scenario, I would have chickens and rabbits.
I've had campfire Dutch oven squirrel stew. I love cooking. I love camping and cooking, man. I always felt like it was like peak privilege sometimes to camp, like, because as growing up poor, you're like, what? You're gonna go live outside?
You're gonna lug all this shit outside because you want to?
But man, little Chris and I would bring the tripod stand to throw over the fucking fire.
Hell
and
yeah.
you put anything on there and
it tastes better when it's cooked on fire.
That's when we were talking about getting a grill. I was like, I kind of just want to build a fucking brick thing and throw wood in it. And
yeah, it's so delicious. Me and my friend JD did that when it was a hurricane in Virginia and all the power went off for like a week. We just built a fire in the backyard and we were just like cooking all the shit from the freezer. It was awesome. It's still one of our favorite memories.
You gotta go and look at this time. We're at 1:15 again, or 1:15 again.
It's perfect, babe. When we get together, it's just fucking perfect.
I wanted to end the podcast saying I watched like another very dark thing last night. Where am I going? It was a bunch of people talking to their loved ones on their deathbed because something happened to them. And it was the same thing that was like with my dad. It was like, the doctors don't tell it to you straight. The doctor literally said to me, and then we could unplug all this stuff and we could let the leaves fall as they may. And it took every fiber of my being to be like, don't ever fucking talk to me that way. Tell me if he's gonna die or not. Don't sit here and fucking like doodle on the words.
Yeah.
Let the leaves fall as they may.
That is fucked.
Don't talk to me like that.
But yeah, you're a person who appreciates direct communication. A lot of people beat around the bush and can't be spoken to directly, or they crumble.
Doctors are going, okay, so what they're trying to say is, this person is alive because of the machines. We can turn the machines off, but it's likely that they're just going to die almost right away. The third option is we move them to a facility where they live on a machine, and then we see how long they live. And every person...
Or if he ever regains consciousness.
...could not... Which they won't. Like, every doctor was like, it never happens. But, there's a lot of people in here like, we're praying. And it sucks because these people are freaking out. And you want to respect whatever they want to do. But the reality... I just get so mad. We don't talk about death. And so everybody ends up losing their minds because it was never talked about. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about, hey, something traumatic could happen. I'm fucking brain dead on a machine, and now I can't make decisions. And now my next of kin has to make a decision. And then you get stuck in like fucking limbo or whatever. So it's like, we have to start talking about death. Have to. I'm going to write my will right now. It's like this, we can't keep thinking it's not going to fucking happen.
Do not resuscitate.
Don't resuscitate
Just kidding.
me. I'm an organ donor.
I am an organ donor. Take them. Give them
Take
to
them
the babies
away.
who need them.
I don't... Like, I want all of my kids and my family to be like, Whitney wants to go. We'll see you later. There's no crying at the bedside or asking God why. Or it's like, no. It's so fucked.
Yeah, it's hard to let go of someone when they've always been there.
Thought about, and you've never been prepped on this process, what it looks like, how it's going to go, what comes next. You don't know anything.
Because it's so uncomfortable. It's like the most uncomfortable thing to talk about, other than a clitoris. Well, I gotta go.
I'm gonna turn into a chaplain. I'm gonna talk about death and clits. See you later.
Death
everybody.
and clits.